passport. Yes, Paula.
Wolf, we can hear cheers now from inside the prison. That definitely means that that tinted van that I told you about must have had Amanda Knox in it. I can't imagine why else they're cheering. I'm just speculating here, but we can hear the cheers outside here from the prison of her obviously having entered. That's what we assume, and them cheering her on. Wolf, she was a very popular prisoner here. Everyone said that she was nice and friendly, and she certainly was part of the prison community here. And we continue to hear some cheering just behind me from inside those gates. Wolf?
Well, we don't know, Paula, and I just want to be precise, how long she and Rafael Solicito will be in prison right now to do the paperwork, collect their personal possessions, and be allowed to leave. We also don't know how they will leave. I assume that she will have, and I assume he will as well, a proper security given the enormity, the enormous media coverage of this case.
We don't expect her to walk out of this prison. We expect her to leave in a car, you know, within the protection, obviously, of Italian authorities, help from the American embassy here in Rome, and also her family. That's what we have been told. The paperwork inside, they need to get that official paperwork from the Italian Justice Ministry, that her personal belongings, and then she can be on her way. You know, it is just still a bureaucratic process, Wolf. Before this, we were told by someone very close to the warden here that she's prepared for this, but you know, it takes as long as it's going to take for them to get the bureaucracy process. That could be a frustrating wait for everyone right now, but that's what we're waiting for. And again, we're speculating, but the cheers that we hear from inside there, we believe that perhaps in one of the tinted vans that did have Amanda Knox, just from the protection that was around that vehicle. Wolf?
Throughout the day, and you've been there now for a while, Paula, throughout the day, the tension level must have really been building, especially after the court appearance earlier in the day when she made that personal appeal and she basically cried out her innocence to the jurors, the 6 jurors, the 2 judges that would determine her fate as well as the fate of Rafael Solicito. How significant was that personal statement, you believe, that she made, or was it all the forensic evidence, the DNA, which was tainted, obviously contaminated, and very thin to begin with?
It was, you know, so dramatic, Wolf, and I'll tell you why. During that first verdict that you and I covered almost 2 years ago now, she read from a piece of paper. Yes, she read, it was in Italian, but she read from a piece of paper. Wolf, I just want to turn now. We're going to turn our cameras to the road. We see more blue flashing lights, and we just want to make sure perhaps it is her, perhaps her family. We're not exactly sure, but we're going to move our shot. But just to continue answering your question, this was different, Wolf. She threw away the script, it seemed, and really spoke from the heart. She had an attentive jury, though, Wolf. You know, when I was in court this week, I could see that when the prosecution was speaking, it seemed as if they were shaking their heads and really were quite animated, and perhaps that is what made the difference. This is one of the vans that Amanda Knox went into the courtroom with. You'll see it now in our shot. I'm not sure if she is still in there or if they're just returning. We'll see what happens now when they go in. Still a lot going on here, Wolf, as you can see. But as I said, I could see from what those jurors were mouthing. They were actually mouthing back to the prosecution that certainly, even if they didn't acquit her, that reasonable doubt had crept in. Wolf?
And that van that just pulled in, you can see that the windows were all shaded. We have no idea who was inside, if it was Amanda Knox, if it was Rafael Solicito. We don't know who was in that van. We assume somebody related to this case was there, but we're just speculating at this point. The authorities at the prison have not given you, Paula, an actual timeline of what is about to happen, have they?
They certainly don't want it to take more than a couple of hours maximum. They want to expedite this process. They do respect the decision of the Italian court, and that is their job here. So they want to make sure that anything she has to do is not, you know, doesn't take too long. They want to make sure that they can get her in and out as quickly as possible. She does have a lot of friends here. I know I spoke to an Italian parliamentarian earlier who's had a rapport with her, has written about his conversations with her. He said that he would see her back here tonight after a verdict to give her a gift. We do believe the chaplain that she has been so close to here in the prison is also in there waiting for her, waiting to say goodbye. What we're waiting to find out now is if her lawyers are arriving and if her family will arrive here under special protection. That's also a possibility. The paperwork really shouldn't take that long, Wolf. What's more important and going to be a little bit more complicated are the logistics to actually get her out of this prison and on a plane.
Yeah, that's going to be within the next few hours, we assume. Paula Newton, stand by. Matthew Chance is outside the courthouse. Becky Anderson is there. Our senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin is watching all of this. We're here in the Situation Room with the breaking news. Amanda Knox, 24 years old, from Seattle, Washington, is about to be freed. Her guilty verdict overturned by these 8 jurors in Perugia, Italy. Our special coverage will continue right after this.
This is CNN Breaking News.
All right, so this is video shot just a little while ago. Vehicles going into the prison near Perugia, Italy, where Amanda Knox and Raffaella Solicito have now been freed. They're about to be freed. The jurors, 6 jurors, 2 judges, overturning the guilty verdicts for murder just within the past hour or so. They both are about to be released. We're watching it closely. Becky Anderson is outside the courthouse where she's been getting crowd reaction, very intense, I assume, and a lot of mixed opinions. Is that what you're seeing, Becky?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of mixed opinions. I'm joined now by somebody who's absolutely furious about what has happened tonight. Veronica is a 4th-year law student here in Perugia, and you were part of what was a protest just moments ago here. Veronica, why?
I'm very upset with the Italian justice. I think that this legal process go very, very bad, and this family needs some justice, and more important, to know the real truth of the story. I think that they have to know who is the killer of her daughter, Meredith, and I hope so the third legal process could be useful.
Yeah, all right, you're talking about Meredith Kircher, and lest we forget there was a victim in all of this, a young girl who was brutally sexually assaulted and murdered back in 2007. You don't believe that Amanda Knox and Solicito, her former boyfriend, should have been released tonight?
Yeah, yes, I'm really absurd. It's completely out of mind. I don't understand.
And do you think a lot of people agree with you here in Perugia?
Absolutely. The majority of people agree with me. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think that the problem is the Italian justice. We cannot live with the spirit. In the spirit, this family needs to know the real truth, and it's for the family and for the Italian.
Are you not satisfied that there is a man called Rudy Guede, a drifter who was found in Germany and brought back here? He's in prison for the next 16 years. He cannot appeal. Are you not satisfied that the person who murdered Meredith Kircher, it now appears, is behind bars?
It's horrible. I'm not satisfied of this. I'm scared of this thing because a killer is around us.
All right, well, thank you very much indeed, Veronica, for joining us this evening. And it was quite remarkable, Wolf. You heard the protests as this decision. It's not a verdict, it's a decision, of course, overturning the convictions for murder that were delivered back in 2009. Meredith Kircher, of course, killed in November, nearly 4 years ago today. Back in 2007, a very, very brutal murder. The protests began here almost immediately. We heard the decision delivered by the presiding judge, a judge who was actually a member of the jury here. It's an interesting system, this Italian system here. 6 lay assessors, as they're called, and 2 judges involved on the jury. They were there simply to guide, not to direct the process, but it was one of those men today, presiding Judge Hellman, who delivered the decision handed down after 11 hours of deliberation here at the courthouse beside me. And they delivered the verdict just about, an hour or so ago. They've been deliberating for 11 hours. It's been quite the most phenomenal day in what is a medieval city here in central Italy. I'm sure Perugia has seen a lot in the years, but I'm not sure it's seen anything like this, Wolf.
I'm sure it hasn't. As we've been pointing out, that little city, Perugia, was basically known for its chocolate over the years and a chocolate festival, and now it's about to be known for something very different. Here's what I don't understand, Becky, and maybe you understand this and can explain it to our viewers. Rudy Guede, this drifter who was convicted of murder, a lot of his DNA was all over the place at the scene of that murder, at the scene of that crime. And obviously, a lot of people believe he killed Meredith Kircher by himself. Why has he only been sentenced to 16 years in prison for a brutal rape and murder of which he was convicted?
Let me put that question to somebody who's just joined me now, Renzo Parody, who's a journalist here with Il Socolo, one of the newspapers here, I believe. The question from Wolf Blitzer back at home base here on CNN International for our global audience is why has Rudy Guede only been sentenced to 16 years for what was a brutal sexual assault and murder?
First of all, because he chose to have a shortened judgment, and this means that he has a cut of 1/3 of the condemnation. And secondly, he was not acknowledged as the man who stabbed Meredith, but he was one who participated to the crime. And now the problem is who stabbed.
And that is the question here.
Yes.
So I guess the next question is this: will the police reopen the investigation?
I think the lawyer of Rudy Guede will ask for a new trial because they have to find out who actually killed Meredith.
And that is one of the reasons that I'm told that there were protests here this evening, because Veronica, who was just speaking to me, who is a fourth-year law student, is absolutely furious about this verdict, not necessarily because Sollecito and Knox are now free to walk away from the prison this evening, but because she says she's scared here in Perugia now. Should she be?
I think the people, everybody has his own feeling, and so we must not take this as something for granted, you know. If you ask for more people in Italy, everybody has his own opinion.
Renzo, what does this say about the Italian justice system?
We have many problems, as you know. It's too slow, too complicated. We have to sharpen. But I think he gave a proof that it's, generally speaking, it's a fair justice. Because the court had to be very courageous to overrule the first verdict.
Knox, of course, acquitted of everything bar defamation. That was no real surprise, was it?
No, because it was clear that she put blame on Patrick Lumumba, which was totally out of the scene of the crime. And so, but she had served 4 years sentence, so she's out because she was convicted to 3 years.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Were you surprised by what you heard today?
No, I was just expecting this verdict.
Fascinating. All right, so Wolf, just another commentator here on what has been the most extraordinary day in Perugia. Back to you.
An amazing day, a wonderful day for these two defendants who are about to be freed within the next hour or two or three. We're watching that prison very, very closely. There you see the prison gate. We expect that Amanda Knox and Raffaella Sollecito will be released fairly soon. Could happen within minutes, could happen within a few hours. They're going through the paperwork inside the prison. They're collecting their personal possessions, and then they will be released. And Amanda Knox will head back to the United States, presumably to Seattle, Washington. We'll take a quick break. Jeffrey Tubin is standing by with some legal analysis and more of our breaking news coverage right here in the Situation Room when we come back.